Hey you guys, I'm Catherine, certified nutrition consultant, founder of Foods That Heal You and Foods That Heal You CBD. And today I thought I would share my journey to healing and being set free from an eating disorder many years ago when I was young. And this came to mind the other day because I was sharing with somebody how I enjoy eating some fun foods on the weekend. I'm a nutritionist, so I eat really clean and healthy most of the time, but I do, just like anybody else, I like to go out now and then and enjoy having a nice meal, some fun food I call it. And I thought to myself, wow, how life is so different than it was 25 years ago when I was completely controlled by this eating disorder, and how I've been so set free, I just don't even think about it anymore. It really doesn't cross my mind. And I like to say set free because a lot of people think they're healed of an eating disorder when they're really just coping. Like, for example, they might be counting calories, or they're on a specific diet, or they're not binging. So they think they've been healed, but they're still preoccupied by it. And of course, eating disorders have nothing to do with food. Food is just what we put our focus on to help us push down the pain, the root problem that's causing us to act out and look for something to help numb that pain or dull that pain. So what I thought I would do is just share a little bit of what it looked like for me when I was a kid, when I had the eating disorder, and then what it looked like to get set free, or what my journey was. And I'll try to keep this not too ridiculously long, because I could probably go on for an hour, and I don't think you want that. So when I was 13 years old, I thought I was fat, which was absolutely ridiculous. I've always been little. I'm still very thin. I don't even think I could gain weight if I wanted to, which I know some people wish that for themselves. But anyway, I eat very healthy too. I'm sure if I ate pizza every night, it probably could gain weight. So anyway, I was 13 years old and I thought I was fat, so I stopped eating. It was that simple. And I learned about calories and started counting calories. I was athletic, I swam, I played basketball, so the weight came off really easily. But it only lasted for one summer, and that's because in the fall, my parents told me that if I did not gain some weight back, that I would not be able to play basketball. And of course, I loved playing basketball, so I gained the weight. And it appeared as though the problem was gone. But the problem really was not gone. It resurfaced again in college. So my freshman year in college, I met some friends. I just had a great time. I was loving having a social life and all this stuff. But then at the end of the freshman year, I had become friends with somebody who I'd become codependent with. I became attached to her. I mean, she just really was my sunshine, I guess you could say. If you know anything about codependency, really the other person, you become attached to them and they become your coping mechanism. It's almost like an addiction. And it caused a lot of other problems in my life. And I will have that in another video on how I was set free from codependency. I've been set free from a lot of stuff. God is so good. I'm blessed, as you can see on my t-shirt. So anyway, when she told me after the first year that she was going to go back to her hometown to school, I was devastated. I was crushed. Because basically what had happened was that eating disorder, the codependency was numbing the pain rather than the eating disorder. So when she left, I stopped eating again to cope with the pain. And thinking, oh, I'm fat. So then my perception of myself was completely skewed. I'd look in the mirror and thought that I looked fat, when again, that was ridiculous. I definitely wasn't fat. I was still doing athletic stuff, still exercising, still counting calories. I was absolutely obsessed with calories. And so I was able to control my eating disorder and kind of like get away with it because I made sure I ate enough, but not too much. I ate enough that I was still starving, and so my metabolism ultimately slowed down so that I didn't get too skinny, although I was pretty darn thin. And I was really tired all the time, and I would binge. I'd binge and then starve and then binge. I'd get up in the middle of the night and almost not even remember binging in the middle of the night, because what I would do is I'd starve all day, and then in the middle of the night, I'd be so hungry that I would just go nuts. Or we'd go out drinking on the weekend like a lot of college kids do, and that would take my inhibitions down, and I would eat a lot. Of course, I never gained weight because I would starve the next day, and also because I did have, and still do have, a high metabolism. So that lasted for quite a few years, and I controlled it. So it kind of looked like I guess you could say it looked like I was healed, but in college, I did go through a stress management program, I guess you could call it, for girls with eating disorders. There were 8 of us in the program. It was like an outpatient thing where after classes I would go. It was 8 weeks long. And what they did there, it wasn't about healing, although I appreciate their attempts, but it mostly was teaching us about body image, about food, and about control. So I did learn about the eating disorder, but it definitely was not a way to get set free. So what it did for me was it helped me to manage the symptoms. It helped me manage the binging, manage the eating, so that I was not getting too skinny. And I never ended up as an inpatient in the hospital. But unfortunately, I was still a very unhappy child. I was miserable, and I was still using food obsessively to help numb my pain. Fast forward, I don't even know how many years, maybe 10 years. I guess I'm going to guess I was like 29 years old, maybe 30 years old. And a friend of mine said, hey, I know this lady, and I had a lot of chronic pain, physical pain, which is another video. Anyway, a lot of chronic pain that had been creeping up over those 10 years. And it wasn't from not eating right. I'm sure some of it might have to do with it. But I had a friend say, hey, I know this lady who might be able to help you with your physical pain. She prays for people. And I thought, what the heck? That sounds great. And so I went there thinking, oh, I'm going to get prayed for, and all my physical pain is going to go away, and I'm going to be able to run again and do all these things that I love to do again. But when I went, it turned out that there was no focus on the eating disorder. She did pray for me physically, but the focus was on, oh, you have an eating disorder. Okay. Well, she said, I think I can help you. And I thought, okay, great. I didn't know it was an interview. I thought I was going to get prayed for and healed. It didn't work that way. Some people get the miracle. I've had to walk through my healing, all of it. So if you're looking for somebody who's been there, done that, had to walk through it, didn't get the miracle, I'm your girl. I can relate. But I have been set free from many, many things. So I went back, and through getting to the root problem, not once, this is what's so interesting, not once did we look at the eating disorder. Not once. I told her I had an eating disorder, but we did not address the eating disorder. What we addressed was the root problem. It was the childhood. And I know a lot of people want to say, oh, I don't want to go to the past. There's no point in that, digging up that stuff. But the past is in you. You can't, letting go of the past is different than ignoring the past. If you can't look at the past, face the past, or even remember the past, that's denial. So if you have symptoms of things like eating disorders, it's probably something traumatic that happened in your childhood that you're trying to cope with. So what she did with me is we looked at forgiveness, we looked at anger, we looked at trauma in the childhood, and after, I'd say, gosh, I don't even know how long it was. Maybe a year, maybe less. I don't even know, to be honest with you, because I started noticing just kind of out of the blue, wow, I don't really pay attention to what I eat anymore. It was so rigid when I first started. I had to eat at a certain time of day. I had to eat a certain number of calories, or I'd be really upset with myself. I'd get angry at myself. So as she and I looked at the root pain, and it was a lot of family stuff that, you can watch in my testimony, I just suffered, unfortunately, a lot of abuse, both neglect, abandonment, physical abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, you name it. And what actually triggered me to even remember any of it, well, there's a couple things. But one was reading a book about eating disorders, and it said, I think 97% of girls with eating disorders have been sexually abused. And I read that, and I thought, wow, I don't think that's happened to me, because I hadn't remembered anything at this point. I didn't know that I had been abused. So the memory started surfacing after reading that book, and so we addressed those things, and gradually the eating disorder just kind of disappeared. Like I said, not once did we look at the eating disorder. That's what's so amazing. We worked on looking at the problem, forgiving the person who hurt me, and at the end of the day, it's really, it sounds so simple. It's a little, it's easier. Let's see, it's simple but not easy. It's simple but not easy. It's simple that, there was a lot of trauma, and so basically go back to the memories. Who were you angry at? I forgive them and move on. That's how you let go. People who want to say, oh, we'll just let the past go and don't remember it, that's not moving on, because what if you were hurt by somebody and you didn't forgive them because as a child you don't know how to forgive? What if you held that anger in your heart? That anger manifests in your body. That anger manifests in how you think, your behavior, everything that you do. So as I forgave the people who hurt me as a child, this eating disorder it just went away. And I'm telling you, to be set free is amazing. God is just amazing, just truly amazing, because he doesn't go for just the coping. God wants us completely set free. And, I didn't really I knew the Lord kind of when this whole journey started when I was about 30 years old, but I knew him as a religion. I didn't know him as a relationship. So as I learned who Jesus was as a relationship and started looking at the pain, facing it, forgiving those who hurt me, the symptoms, I guess you could say, went away. And then the next thing in my journey was to deal with the codependency, because you can tend to go from one addiction to another. You can go, oh, I'm going to quit alcohol, and then you end up with a food addiction. I'm going to quit food addiction, then the TV addiction. It's like you can always find something to replace the other addictions. In my case, I decided, you know what, I don't want any of them. I want to be completely set free. So my journey has been a long one, a hard fight, but it's been so worth it. And I love Jesus. And I feel very blessed to be able to share my story. And I'll be sharing more of my story, especially if people are, if you guys are liking it, thumbs up so that I know, or comment, share your story. I'd love to hear it. And I'll see you in the next video.